Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Louise Newsom, and I'm pleased to have this opportunity today to facilitate the Trade and Prosper Hudson Live event. And first of all, I need to thank Columbia County Chamber, the Hudson Business Coalition, and the Hudson River Exchange for all their support in helping me get this off the ground today. Trade and Prosper is an association and social enterprise, and its mission is to support local businesses, citizens, and communities, and bring together like-minded individuals to trade ideas, information, and also the goods and services that they offer. So today we have with us some of the business owners of Hudson and the surrounding area to share with us how they've been managing the last 12 weeks during this COVID-19 crisis, and their thoughts as we move from shutdown to opening. So good afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much. I know everyone is very, very busy. So I'm thrilled that you're doing this. So I'd like to give you all an opportunity to say hi and introduce yourselves and your business. So we'll start with Hudson Chatham Winery. Stephen, you want to come on?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephen Rosario, and this is my husband, Justin Nickel, and we just took over Hudson Chatham Winery 3 weeks ago. It's been pretty exciting. I think we're probably one of the very few businesses that bought and started a business in the midst of a pandemic, and it has its challenges, but I think it's very exciting to start this venture right now.
I'm so excited that you guys are willing to do this, because I think that this is the most interesting perspective that we're going to get, because you did take over the business right in the midst of this. So we'll hear more later from you guys about how that's been going. So thank you for being here. And then right next to me here, I have my daughter, Sophie Newsom, who's going to introduce our family business, Old York Farm Distillery. Sophie.
So we're a woman-owned distillery, and we specialize in making seasonal batch spirits. We're so lucky to be in the Hudson Valley, surrounded by the best possible ingredients that anyone could wish to be around. And one of our specialty products is our black walnut bourbon, where we tap trees to make a syrup for this one-of-a-kind bourbon. We're very community-focused in everything we do. It's a very collaborative space. When we're able to be open to the public, we'll bring that back in a big way.
Thanks, Soph. Okay, and next we'll invite David McIntyre from Hudson Portrait Pop-Up. David.
Hey, guys. Yes, David McIntyre here. I'm best known, I think, locally for the Hudson Portrait Project, but today I wanted to be here representing Hudson Art Fair, which is a brand new business we just launched, 10 other artists, local artists, and it's an online gallery. We're going to be selling work and donating 25% to local charities that are helping during this crisis. So it's kind of a major pivot, but very exciting. So thank you for having us on.
Great, David. When did you start this?
It launched yesterday.
Oh, perfect timing.
Sorry, Chatham Winery. I didn't mean to gazump you on that, but
that's true. That's funny. Okay, great, David. And now, Mary Warner. Mary, actually, I have to say thank you. You were pivotal in helping me get this event set up. So thank you for all of your help. And you're here today with Hudson Clothier, your business.
Yes, I'm Mary Vaughan Williams. I opened Hudson Clothier about 5 years ago, and it's my second shop in Hudson. And it's all American-made clothing for men and women. And it became before pandemic. Hopefully, it will become again just a real community hub for me. With it's just I love Hudson, and so. Hopefully things will come back to how they were.
Well, I do believe they will. We just need a little patience as we get there. And the ability to hold out, some tenacity, right, Mary Vaughan?
Yes.
Thank you. Kristen from Farmers and Sons. I saw Kristen up.
Hi, everyone. How are you? I'm Kristen. Kirby Farmer and I are the proprietors of William Farmer and Sons Boarding and Bar Room. We are in downtown Hudson, and we are a restaurant and inn, and it's we're just kind of evolving and seeing what our position will be going forward. But we're here, and we love Hudson, and we're committed to making it work. And thank you to a great community for that.
Thanks, Kristen. Well, hopefully you're going to share, because I was reading a little bit about where the name came from, and it's such a fun story. Hopefully you'll share that a little later. And Stella from Hudson River Exchange again. I want to thank Stella, really pivotal in helping me get this event set up too. Stella, are you there?
Hi, Louise. Hi, everyone. Thanks for inviting me into this process of bringing together Hudson businesses. So I am a co-founder and I run Hudson River Exchange. We've been activating spaces for bringing together creativity and commerce through marketplaces and through our retail incubator space, which is a shop space and houses artist studios on Warren Street. The pandemic has really changed our course for the season, and our lease is actually up in October this year. So, it would have been running as a kind of retail shop right now, but right now we're kind of reinventing, pivoting, maybe into virtual space a little bit more, but to be determined. It's always been an experimental space and kind of a non-conventional retail space. So in a way, it's always been experimental. So this is an unexpected turn, but excited also to see what's in store.
Well, Sally, you've been around a long time as well in this community and working with the makers and artisanal businesses. So I hope that you'll share with us a little later just that, what these 12 weeks have been like and what you've seen in the past and how different it is now and what you're hoping for in the future with these businesses. I know that you're very pivotal in that space. So it's important that you stick around. Thanks, Stella. Thanks for being here. Peg from Dish Hudson. Peg, are you here? No? And we have Chris from Source Adage. Chris?
Hi, my name is Chris Draghi, and my husband and I own the fragrance brand Source Adage on Warren Street. We've been open for since September 2015, and we feel fortunate enough to live in the building, so our daily life through this situation has certainly changed. Our store is closed without question, but it's still an upstairs, downstairs situation. So we are able to continue to through online orders, make products without having to expose ourselves or others to travel or even coming into a retail store at this moment. But we feel very fortunate in Hudson. It's a great creative space. It's an amazing makers environment. So we were able to do our thing and feel supported and have a venue and outlet to really see this through and to be even optimistic, I dare say, for the other end of it.
Yeah, and I hope, Chris, you'll talk a little bit about Doorstep Market as well, and your involvement with that, because that's how we met. We found each other on Met. Look, Hudson, Marie and Ian.
So my name is Marie Balla. My husband Ian and I own Look on Warren Street. This is our second store on Warren Street. We've been there 10 years, and we sell, I would say, luxury secondhand clothing from the 80s and up. And we find ourselves in an extremely unusual position of not having been able to shop for 3 months. And I think for the last 10 years, 18 years, we've had this business. We have always said there's always more. And right now, it definitely doesn't feel that way. So it's a unique challenge, I think, for the secondhand clothing world generally, is that all of our stores across the country have been closed for 3 months. I think it's an ecosystem that's going to take a little time to repair, and we're part of that. So it's challenging. I think places like Hudson River Exchange will become possibly more and more important for stores like us who need a bit of time to repair. But we can talk more about, and also the apparel business generally, I think, has some pretty unique challenges that may be different from other businesses. So I'll leave it at that.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I think each individual business demographic certainly has their personal challenges based on how they're going to come out of this and move through the phases and back to whatever the new normal is. Thank you for that, Marie. Peg, are you there?
name is Peg Patterson, and I have a dish shop. I sell dishes and table linens and pottery. So it's a mix of handmade and manufactured. And in terms of COVID, I had a lot of orders in for the spring. And plus I make things. It's a combination of maker and, bought things, selected things. A lot of my orders were the makers couldn't get into their warehouses. Sounds a lot like Maria's situation, like I couldn't get to my goods. And now it seems to be loosening up a little bit. But of course, after not being open for so much time, it's like, it's like retail, like replenishes itself. Like, where am I? I'm going to have to take from my own savings to buy rather than from profits. And so I'm sort of doing that. And I spent some time actually looking at all these orders that, like, well, which ones can I bring alive? And it seems like I can, but it seems like everything in my orders are way back ordered. Like half the things I want, I can't get. So I don't know what that's about. As far as the phases of opening, I feel a little confused about that for my particular setup. As Chris mentioned, he has like a way that he can have people come in and not touch everything. And mine is the opposite. Everyone touches everything. I'm constantly dusting and cleaning up. It's a hard, slick surface often for a dish, So I feel like I don't think I'll be opening next week, and some people are thinking about doing that. I don't know what kind of an impact that will have on our city as a whole, that it'll be like a spotty opening. So, just mass confusion on my end, and just gonna play it by ear. And I'm also using my time to do a lot of things I've never done for my business, like really try to understand, look into, create a website, things like that. So I've been sort of focusing on that.
Peg, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you opened up with this, because it kind of went into that first question about how it's been over these past 12 weeks. And I think that I'm actually going to, since I have Sophie right next to me, and we're kind of in that hospitality space, and different challenges, but similar challenges. And we've all got similar challenges. But if you want to just talk about just the past 12 weeks and just the effects on the business.
For us, we have a very customer to customer forward facing business as well. We completely relied on being in person with people to be able to survive as a business. It was actually part of our license as a farm distillery. Everything had to be direct to consumer. So there was no ability for an online store. There was no ability for delivery, no ability for even shipping directly to consumer, which seems so archaic. But luckily for us, the governor did make provisions right at the beginning of this, which allowed us to make contactless pickup, contactless delivery, and shipping within New York. And it's really given us the opportunity to survive this, but we've had to get really creative and completely step outside of everything we had spent years building up to. And we now have a drive-through window, which is crazy. We never would have imagined that. And we just have had to reimagine everything top to bottom.
So actually, Stephen, I'm going to invite you on just to follow up on this. As someone who's come into this type of business as a new business owner right in the middle of this, how have you managed?
It's a steep learning curve. I think this deal was a 9-month deal in the making, and then kind of culminated with a pandemic. So it's like all the nerves you have of launching a business really just exacerbated by just everything that was going on in the world. And so for us, it was just, how do we keep connecting with the guests, because ultimately, like Sophie was mentioning, we're very customer facing, and when you can't communicate or just connect with the guests on the product, lucky enough, Hudson Chatham has had a really fantastic following, so we have that base of that returning guest. We can do those contactless pickups or deliveries. But in gaining new guests, it's very difficult to sell a product that they've never had. So you can describe all you want, but like it's very difficult to make that connection with the guests. So in the immediate 4 weeks, just learning what we can do outside of the tasting room is a big one. So we're planning on just utilizing the estate for more outdoor things and recalibrating what is our service model for our guests. Like, if we're not going to be able to do things inside, how can I have guests come to the property and enjoy, and then still have that experience? May it not be at a bar experience, but outside, I think even better. So just really just trying to redevelop a service model. It's difficult when you had this business plan of how you were going to launch something, and right as you launch, you're redoing it. So I think we're learning as we go. I think, Sophie, you're doing a killer job at what you guys have done, and we hope that we can continue going in that same line of just bringing that product to the guest as easy as possible and as smart as possible.
Have you found, I mean, you know, I even have the bandwidth to be able to take this moment as an opportunity? Because in the other world that we lived in, you would have bought this business and it would have been like full steam ahead into the season, right? This is the season. So you've had this pause, which not necessarily ideal, but do you see things coming out of this which actually are positive?
I think there is a definite benefit to this, just the softness, that the start of like being able to jump in what normally would be full steam ahead in full season in the Hudson Valley, especially with everyone coming from the city or visiting on weekends. This has given a nice reprieve to be like, okay, it's a little softer, but to be able to focus and really understand how are we rebranding ourselves and delivering ourselves to the guests.
It's giving us a chance to rethink how we use our estate currently. Currently, we have the tasting room where people are coming in and doing a tasting and enjoying a bottle. But now that we have such limited, trying to keep up with the social distancing guidelines and really giving people an option where they can come out and still do something. Is that picnic tables? Is that a bunch of Adirondack chairs spread out over the lawn? Is that putting up some fire pits at night, 20 feet apart with 6 around each one, and you come hang around a fire pit and do a tasting as a group? Or it's really making us rethink how we can interact with the guests and still give them the social distancing that everyone needs to be doing.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. I want to jump over to Kristen. I'm going to get through everybody. So thank you for your patience. But just on this sort of hospitality side of things, Kristen, how are you dealing with things at Farmers and Son?
I think initially we used our space to be as helpful as we could. Hudson has a local hospital, so we took our rooms and we donated them to nurses and people working in the hospital that needed accommodation. And now we've kind of moved out of that. Thankfully, I think that that's a good sign for all. As soon as, we shut down immediately, and we have to just change our business model completely. One of the things that Peg had mentioned was even trying to find the product that she's used to getting. We just started curbside pickup last week, and Kirby, who is our chef, he had rewritten the entire menu and went to do ordering and found that all of our purveyors, they had to pivot to change their business, because as the restaurants closed, they were no longer servicing restaurants. So they went for slightly less commercial and different residential venues. So one of the things that we found is the way that we're ordering had to change completely. And even the things that we thought that we could order to serve are different. So in short, what we're doing is curbside pickup. We're entertaining longer term stays. There's a there's a need and a market for people that really want to come and stay for the season. So those are kind of the short-term things we're doing, and some of the but it's funny when you do pivot and see what your new plan is. There's a lot of obstacles that we didn't necessarily anticipate at the same time.
That's right. I'm sure. Same for everybody. Stella, I just want to ask you, as somebody who's dealing with a group of businesses and trying to support them during this time, what are some of the things that you've been seeing over the past 3 months?
So we do a seasonal application, and of course, they were launched as things were starting to shut down. At the beginning of the week, I launched the applications, and by the end of the week, pretty much the state was getting locked down. So, that really put a pause on what would be our kind of rotating showcase of local makers in the shop, which usually starts in May. So, I mean, I've kind of recognized the role and importance of trying to connect with people during this time of disconnection, and being more of an introvert. I've always kind of done social media very functionally, and I've just been kind of jumping in more, doing some live conversations. I've been doing a weekly one with a friend of mine, Lori Ostrowski, who runs the Hudson Valley Women in Business, and just trying to be more present. There's a monthly quick crit meeting that I do, that I host around the Hudson Valley, that is an opportunity for self-employed and creative people to come together, that I moved them online so that we could be connecting and exchanging ideas and trying to problem solve together. And fortunately, technology enables us to do that. So yeah, if anything, I've just been trying to be listening and creating opportunities for people to plug in and connect, and just trying to promote the businesses that are doing their thing. So yeah, I'm observing and trying to support.
Thanks, Stella. David, so you've started the newest business online on this call today, the Hudson Art Fair. So tell me tell all of us, I should say, what made you do this? Was this something you were working on for a long time before, like 3 months ago, or was it something that came out of this?
It totally came out of this. I was in some of the task force meetings, cultural task force meetings. I recognize some of you guys were there also. And I think it was the very first meeting we were talking about planning for the opening. Some voices were talking about how we survive right now. And there was also this voice of how do we help the community? And it arose out of that conversation. Artists need a place to sell. The community, charities like Friends of Hudson Youth, Perfect 10 that are making masks, they need funds. So I just kind of put it all together as a bridge between now and the future reopening. And I'm really excited that we are reopening. Lightforms, a gallery in town, is going to be letting guests in next week. So maybe this online gallery isn't needed anymore, but it was sort of very exciting to get together with other artists who have that same drive, that same need. And we put this together in record time. There's 10 of us all together. And yeah, it was very exciting. And having that social entrepreneurial aspect where we're giving back to the community is super important. Well,
and you've been doing a lot of that. I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about your photographs that you've been taking? It's been amazing to watch you and just what you put up on your Instagram.
Well, I do that, and it's supported, I guess, as a commercial photographer. So obviously March the 20th was my last gig, and so that just dried up, no income. Not that stopped the support. Actually, what did free up was a lot of time to do that. And on the Hudson portrait pop-up, I ran a series, a little fundraiser. There was the fire on Allen Street. A number of families were displaced. Peg, I recognize here. I photographed her and David the other day. So we did a little fundraiser. Oh, I photographed you guys. What am I talking about? You were the first. Locally, that's kind of it. That's one of the great privileges of living in Hudson, is that it's a welcoming community, and it's just it was certainly been welcoming to me. I'm sure the other business owners, and so that giving back has just been demanded of me in a way, from my heart from the very beginning.
Right. Well, and it inspires you, especially I'm sure during this time, it drives you, and it's driven you to create this Hudson Art Fair as well, which is amazing. And I do think online is going to remain, and I think it's going to have incredible value. It's not going to go away just because the in-person comes back. And actually, yeah. Chris, if you want to come on and talk a little bit about just these last 12 weeks and then the whole doorstep market launch and your involvement with that as a business.
Yeah, sure. So we make fragrances. So the in-person is always very, very important, not just to have someone test the fragrances, but also create the context that, sort of evoked the vibe of what we were creating for the olfactory senses. So when the store shuts down, that's a little tricky. We do have an online business, have had one, but it's always been repeat business. People have already smelled it, or maybe you're at a friend's house and saw the candle or something to that effect. There has been an uptick, certainly online. I think mostly from people who had been clients, but it doesn't replace a store by any means. Again, it's all about the experience as well. With the last 12 weeks, again, with the uptick, that's certainly lovely. But there have been new opportunities, and Edible publication reached out for the doorstep websites for makers in the Hudson Valley area. So we decided to participate in that and give it a shot. Again, always tricky when you can't smell the product, but those who know us, it certainly come back. And we've decided to participate there with our apothecary line. We have sort of two distinct lines. One is perfumery, one apothecary. The apothecary, we do make 100% here on site by ourselves. So those products, those ingredients, those supplies we have here, and luckily had them already. Didn't have to reorder during this time. So we were able to make new candles and soaps and such during this time. Again, we live on site, for good or for bad. And so we were able to also fulfill any type of interest in orders and keep chugging along while we ride it out. And so Doorstep is a really interesting, again, makers-driven online website community, and a lot of great products on there of all types, from makers from the area. And so we're really happy to see how that goes, and to keep going, not to shut it down after the store opens, which might be this week or next week, who knows when. We look forward to keeping those relationships, those collaborations going.
Yeah, I think that there's just been incredible opportunity. I've just seen it even just with Trade and Prosper, in the sense that the conversations have been enabled. The people have had bandwidth to be able to start conversations and talk about things in a different way, and then come together and actually collaborate and do make a bigger impact on businesses and help businesses in a larger way. I mean, I've been talking to Edible and to the Doorstep Market guys too, and just what we can do together, and also with Stella, whatever we can do as a larger group. And to Stella's point, working with Laurie Ostrowski of Hudson Valley Women in Business, I mean, it just all helps. And before this, we were all maybe just running, we were very busy and we were doing our thing, right? So there is opportunity that comes through this very hard time. Mary Vaughan, thanks, Chris, for your input there. Mary Vaughan, you're very involved with the Hudson Business Coalition as well, and obviously a long-standing business owner in Hudson. What can you add here into this conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I have had a shop in Hudson since 2004. This is my second store, so I've seen a lot of change over the years. And what's interesting about what's happening now, and there are other people on this call who can chime in here if they like, about this, is that all the different organizations in Hudson that have Hudson's been a little bit fractured that way. We haven't been that strong community with everybody getting together on the same page and working together on things. There's been a number of different organizations that we have felt at times, I think, that whether we were undermining each other just because we weren't joining up together or whatever the case may be, this has really been an opportunity for a lot of those organizations to come together and start working together to help each other out. And I've been on the Hudson Business Coalition for several years now, and this has been a time when we've all come together on the Hudson Bonds project, which I wish that Monica was on the call because she could talk about it maybe a little better than I can. But at the same time, it was an idea that had come up when she lived in Red Hook, Brooklyn. And after Sandy, they developed this bond project to raise money for business relief. And so the idea for the HBC was to do the same thing. And Peg did the graphics, and they're beautiful. And so we've been promoting the Hudson Bonds to encourage people to, it's a split where you buy a $100 bond, $50 of it goes into a relief fund that's being supported by the Columbia Economic Development Corp. So they're supporting the project. And then the other half is a bond that then can be spent at any of the participating businesses in town. And so it's a really nice way for people to support Hudson, because we know that a lot of people really enjoy coming to Hudson and spending time here. And so anyway, that's been a good effort that Chris and Peg and Kristen and all of us on the HBC have been involved in. And it's great we're getting a lot of support through that program. So it's been really, really great. And now we have the Hudson Tourism Board that is also wanting to support the businesses and try to figure out what to do. And the Cultural Task Force that the HDC, the Hudson Development Corp, broke into different groups, and the Cultural Task Force, the Business Task Force, the Hospitality Task Force. So all these different groups are getting more on board together, and that's been really great to see.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing for Hudson. I mean, to have so many programs and people advocating for different things, and then now using this very important, difficult, changing time to come together with all of their ideas and resources to really help. I mean,
and as a business owner, I want to say that I have felt very supported by, you know, the Columbia Economic Development Corp. They put together a grant program. Actually, Monica was a part of that. So that was one of the first grants that I received. And outside of that, of course, the SBA has been a lifesaver for me. And don't know if I'd be moving forward as confidently as I am right now if I hadn't had that support, you know, through the disaster loan and all of that. So I feel like I am standing on my own 2 feet now, and I'm gonna reopen this week somehow and see what happens. So.
Thanks, Mary Vaughan. Marie from Look Hudson, Marie there?
I am here.
So, I mean, you talked a little bit about what's been going on for you these past weeks already when you first came on. I mean, as we go towards this phase of opening, and as you know, we all have different feelings about this. What are you feeling going into this phase? What do you see for your business and for yourself?
Well, I think like a lot of other businesses in Hudson, rent is really one of the most important factors in determining moving forward. Ironically, our lease ended yesterday, and we have not really had communication with our landlord about that yet. She hasn't, you know, she's actually been very supportive, but she doesn't really communicate much with us. But I think we're probably not unique in that question of, for those people who were given some relief during the last 3 months, are looking now at a pretty substantial rent increase back to where we were, and actually our rent would be going up as well. At the same time, we're looking at a fairly large shrinkage of the number of people that we can have at the store at a time. The ability to, we only have one of each item on the rail. So allegedly, my understanding is you're supposed to put items away for 24 hours before they can be tried on again. So we have to really look at our business plan and determine whether or not the rent, the occupancy rate. We already have a very sparsely populated store. If you have a very limited supply, and we've always had a limited supply. We operate, we sell, we buy, we sell, we buy. We don't have a collection. We don't even have a collection of summerwear right now, which is a bit of a challenge, and we have nowhere to buy it at the moment. So for us, it's supply chain, it's rent, and it's, some fairly basic questions about how do we manage our overhead and can we make this work, and couple that with all the uncertainty. It is very challenging to say certainly what we're going to do. So we spend a lot of time second guessing ourselves. I don't know, we just don't know. We'll have to see.
Are you reaching out for support to kind of go through this process? It's such a difficult time. These are not challenges we've dealt with before, so it's easy to spin wheels. Have you reached out for support to help you kind of just break
economically, yeah. We have had some support. We did get the PPP. We have talked about applying for other loans, grants, but we also do have this challenge of actually having access, as Peg is talking about, access to goods. If you walked into our store right now, you would think that it was November, not June, because it's filled with coats and sweaters. And we just don't have, we have a small bin that I had started, purchasing just before we went on lockdown. Actually, we had started buying for summer, spring and summer. So that was just halted. So even if we had the money to spend, which, we don't necessarily, but even if we did, I'm not so sure that we would be able to repopulate that store before we had to sell everything for 50% off and move back to winter wear again because of the apparel cycle. You usually usually we would start having a sale in August. So that's 2 months from now. And it'll probably take us 6 weeks to repopulate the store. So it's just a unique challenge for secondhand. And I've actually started reaching out to other businesses in, if you will, in my network, and they're all facing the same challenge. So I just think it'll be time. It takes time to sort of repair this particular, if you will, ecosystem. It's a word I use a lot, maybe inappropriately, but that's just possibly unique to this particular business.
Right. Thank you, Marie. Actually, Chris, to talk about the challenges that you have, similar but different in the sense that, it's about an experience and smells and touch and with your product. Have you thought of any other ideas of how to be able to get things out to your followers, to new customers so that they buy from you?
We've done promotion. Generally, we haven't done sales promotions online. So we started that as a way to, satisfy our clients who presumably still want the houses to smell good, and have the means to still purchase, who haven't lost a job or have suffered economically, to where shopping is actually, an option. So we've done promotions. We've even created a candle, actually a special candle that we give half of the sale, not proceeds, but 50% to Frontline Relief Fund. Since we have the product, the materials, and we can pour the candles on site, we're able to do that. So we try to do things to spark some interest, to also raise money, not just to have it come into our bank accounts. So we've found some success with that. Some people have responded well. To be quite honest, it's tricky to thread the needle, to be sensitive. There's a global pandemic happening, to ask people to buy things. So we've been trying to thread the needle with, promoting ourselves because we don't want to go out of business, while at the same time recognizing there's a lot of economic and, health pains out there right now. So I've had really only one pushback for someone thinking it wasn't very sensitive to be promoting or doing sales during this time, which I disagree with. But I did assure that person, reach out to them personally, saying, we don't call in people to come work on site, risking them or having social distancing issues, since we physically make it ourselves. We live on site, and it's not a factory where we have other people coming in to do the work for us. So we reached out, try to communicate, through online, through our email blast and social media, as well as, doing some things that try to raise some money, again, we chose one of many very worthy foundations to give back to through sales, as well as participating in more local. Mary Vonda mentioned the Hudson Bonds. Supporting that, working on that. HBC is all voluntary anyhow, so giving it the time, which we all tend to have a whole lot of right now, to work on programs to give back, which isn't necessarily a business thing in terms of our business. It's more looking towards the community at large.
Yeah, and I think that there are certainly people who are shopping right now. There are, because you know what? People need it. Okay, there's people who don't want it, and then there's people who really feel that they need it. They want to have something brought into their life in a time when it's stressful and it's feeling limited by being able to move around. And so, and then the fact that you were giving back and offering things to frontliners. Actually, on that, I just want to bring Sophie into the conversation, because when we had challenges like that at the beginning too. So if you want to talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, Chris, what you said really resonated with me. I think that I've been hitting our social media harder than ever. And actually, my best friend since elementary school actually came to me and was like, I don't know if what you're doing is sensitive to the people who can't shop right now, or employees who are at home right now. And really, I had to kind of explain to her that I felt that, like, for example, our bottled cocktails were giving people something that they really missed, giving people a sense of normalcy, which I can imagine having a beautiful candle at home. It's just these simple joys that people are really holding on to right now. And it's important to not forget that and not feel guilty about trying to survive this, and also provide people with wonderful, enjoyable things. And additionally, I mean, we've been making hand sanitizer all for donation to people, frontline workers. So luckily we've had this balance also of giving back to people, as well as still trying to sell our actual bottles of spirits and cocktails at the same time.
It does no good if we're out of business because we decided to take a moral stance of not promoting our business. That's absolutely, that means people losing jobs and we're losing income, and we're relying more on the federal. I mean, that's a bad situation. So it's exactly threading the needle to being sensitive to it whilst not going on business.
Well, that's right. And the whole point of these calls and these live events is talking about community. And so the businesses within these communities are what keeps the community alive. So actually, Kristen, you popped up on the screen here, and I was going to ask you to come in here as a long-standing business, and sort of been feeding the souls of people for a bunch of years. I mean, this is what are you finding with your customers and followers? What are they looking for from you during this time?
I was just going to piggyback on what Chris was saying is, I mean, one of the best things that we can do for this community is to make sure that we survive and that we're here and we're able to come back. So I pretty much everyone on this call, we've seen each other a lot. There's been such a great sense of community and a coming together of various factions of community groups in Hudson that has, it hasn't always been that way. And I feel like even though this is going to be a lot to come through, we really will come out stronger. We just opened up our curbside on Thursday, and people were leaving us notes just saying, thank you. I needed this. I needed to know that that you were going to be here. And it was really emotional. I was telling this one story, we were prepping, and that song Reunited came on, and my staff got really emotional. And it was this moment of we're in this together. And I think that there's this sense of community that is really going to serve us all well in the long run. There's also various opportunities that are going to come through this. One of the things that's being discussed a bunch is to do an open streets concept. And this tactical urbanism and things that we've discussed for a long time as a community, but this actually will give us the opportunity to just try something, and we can see if it works, and it might be something that sticks around for the long term. But now it's just all of us just trying. It's an opportunity to try things, and whether they work or they don't work, we're going to come out of it with more information. And I think that's really great. Another, we're talking about community initiatives. Hudson Hall is doing, they're spearheading a community buying program where they're buying things in bulk, and then the various business owners can then buy from them PPE or the masks and the sanitizer. And so it's people thinking about what they can do in this moment to get us through this moment. But I personally just have so much faith in the friendships and relationships that we've made, people that I've known and served and worked with and bought from, and for the last several years. But the way I know them now is different, and I am excited to live in this community with them.
Thanks, Kristen. Actually, I was going to jump over to Peg, but first of all, I just want to go back to David, because David, you've been going around photographing the community. And just talking off of Kristen's sentiment there, I mean, you've really been feeling that and seeing it with the citizens and the business owners of the Hudson and Columbia County community.
And I've been nothing but impressed. The volunteers at TSL at the Hudson Youth Center, pivoting from taking care of kids to sort of becoming a food pantry for the town. It's just been amazing. And in the arts community also, being on these meetings and seeing all the different organizations, Hudson Hall, TSL, everybody pulling together in the same direction, the big and the small sort of working for the same thing. And, regardless of how much we love each other, there is a competitive aspect to being in any form of commerce. And that's just been put aside. It won't always be like that. I hope we hold on to some of the good vibes that we're feeling right now. But I've been immensely impressed. And you brought this up right at the beginning, how I suspect you thought maybe the Hudson reaction was a little unique, that perhaps other towns aren't perhaps pulling together as much as we are. I don't know if that's something you've experienced or if that's just a sentiment you hold. Or maybe I misunderstood, of course.
So, David, you're talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, this has been... doing this process, I'm learning as I'm going to, just like everybody else, right? And so like I said at the beginning of the call, when I did the first event in Nyack, I mean, it was raw. Everyone was feeling really raw. And then Tarrytown, Sleepy Hollow, there was that, it was still in shutdown, very much so. And so there was this feeling of that, even though, and hope still coming through. And, and what I was hoping for, and I think I'm hearing it from all of you, is as we go to open, and the thought of open, right? I mean, there's a lot of anxiety about that, for sure. But then there's that glimmer of hope, right? And we're getting back to something and being in front of your customer again in some form, even if it's in a new way. And so it's very interesting. It's kind of like, it's such an intense psychological process. We're going to learn a lot from this. So thanks, David. Peg, I want to invite you back on just to kind of, just after listening to all this, if you have anything else to add in here.
Well, I have to say that I do gain courage from many of my friends in Hudson. I hear what they're doing, and for some reason, I just feel like I think at the beginning of all this, and I spoke to many of my colleagues about it, it seemed like we're not going to be open for another year. You know, I mean, do you all remember that at the beginning? Like, this is going to take well into, next year until we feel really safe, or, until there's a vaccine. We're like, nowhere. But the fact that people are opening and are seriously talking about doing it is giving me a feeling of courage about doing it.
That's that is such a great point, because I know personally with our business, with Old York Farm, I mean, Sophie and I have talked about this, and the unbelievable fear of being with groups of people and around groups of people. And then finally, the Band-Aid was kind of ripped off last weekend when we had our first kind of drive-through event. There's nobody hanging out here, but we had a pop-up. People could pick up food, pick up a bottle, and leave. But I was outside managing it all, and then I did a couple of farmers markets. So all of a sudden, it's like, once you've done it, actually, and you realize that everybody's working together and everyone's just as worried, then it's like, okay, fingers crossed, we'll wait 2 weeks. Right. Hopefully everything's going to be fine. Yeah. And then we're going to get to the next level. So it's true. And we've talked about the year. Oh, it's going to be a year. Mm-hmm. But maybe not, because we're going to go through this step by step, and we're going to learn so much, and we're going to get more confident as we know we've done something and it was okay. So then we do the next thing.
Yeah. Also, I have to say something that Kristen said, which was really weighing on my mind. The fact that you were hearing about certain restaurants doing curbside, and, and like, I was like, where's William Farmer? I'm going to die. Where are they? So I was really happy that they started doing the curbside. That's it. It was reassuring.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's a lot of businesses are doing that and offering that as well. Around town. So Mary Vaughan, do you want to come back on and say some final remarks?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that was just making me think how, when I shut down, I just shut down, and I wasn't promoting anything. It just didn't feel right to be trying to sell something right now. And to have my customers start to reach out to me was really validating, and felt amazing. People saying, I need some new socks. Can you get, half a dozen pairs of socks together for me? I'm going to come by and pick them up. And, I have a gift I need to pick up. Can you send me some pictures of necklaces, or, whatever it was? It just made me feel really like, yes, I am an integral part of this community, and people know that I'm a resource for them for things that they need. And that's, for me, that's the ultimate, compliment. And was very reassuring. Like, yes, I can do this. I can come back, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm still here. And because it was frightening. It was frightening. The complete shutdown was, how am I going to survive this? Especially when we were, like Peg said, when is this going to get better? Until they get a vaccine. It's going to be a year of this. How are we going to survive this? And, it is going to be hard, because I do have a double storefront now. And so I do rely on a certain amount of traffic, and I'm not going to be able to have that kind of traffic in the store. I'm going to have to limit it. And so, all these things are still a big unknown, but figure it out, hopefully figure it out. But yeah, so it's really nice to talk with the community and to hear everybody's feedback on this, because it's good to not feel alone, for sure. So thank you for bringing us together, Louise.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. That's great. I'm glad you feel like that. Stella, any closing remarks?
Yeah, I think, I know that we all know as business owners and operators that there's always some sort of problem to solve. It's kind of never ending. So in that way, I feel like, we understand resilience. And I think what's been really bonding about this experience is that we're all going through these problems and trying to solve these problems. And I think that has brought people together in a way that is unique. I guess moving forward, I think, it's going to take time to, life as we knew it has changed. And, there's these things that are going to have to be normalized or feel more normal. And I think I just want to hold on to patience and grace with ourselves. And whether you're a customer or you're an operator, just remembering patience and grace, because we're human beings, and we have hard days and we have good days, and just to continue to show up for each other. And thank you, Louise, for giving us this opportunity to just share stories and just hear from each other.
No, thank you. Thank you. So Stephen, I just want to, we're going to complete our round table here with just having you to say, I hope that you feel a little more empowered, less scared as a new business owner in the community, just listening to everyone today and feeling like you have the support of a community around you for your success.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me on, and thank all of you present on the meeting. You've offered me a sense of calm. It's always nerve-wracking as a new business owner, and especially operating through this, but I appreciate all of your vulnerabilities, your just insights, and how you all are feeling. It's given me a tremendous amount of excitement moving forward, and yes, grace and patience is what we're going to have to exhibit. But I'm so excited to grow in the community, get to know all of you. I hope that we can build a more familial environment, us joining the community and being a little bit more part of Hudson and the surrounding area. So I thank you all. We're very, very excited. So hopefully we can all meet and connect at some point over the next few months and into the future. But thank you all. This has really been really illuminating, and I feel really thankful to have been a part of this.
Thanks, Stephen. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming on today. I know that it just boosts me and it just pushes me along in a positive way, having all of you come on and tell your stories and share your challenges so candidly, but also just positive thoughts as well about things that are happening for you. And again, a big thank you to Columbia County Chamber, the Hudson Business Coalition, and Hudson River Exchange, and all that you do to support the local community and its businesses and its citizens. There is a slide that will come up, and it'll show all of your information, all of the participants' information, so that everybody listening can support and follow you, and hopefully come visit you sooner than later. And for more information on Trade and Prosper, please go visit our website, tradeandprosper.com. And there you'll also find our podcast series called The Makers, where I share inspirational, aspirational stories of business owners near you. So thank you for joining us on Hudson Live. Please stay safe during this opening phase and support New York's Wear a Mask campaign, and keep washing those hands. See you all soon. Thank you.